Hello and welcome to Sandman Tales. I am the Lighthouse Keeper, and I am going to tell you a spooky tale which you need to hear. I hope you enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, gather close. Tonight, I'll tell you a tale so chilling it'll have you second-guessing every shadow, every whisper of wind. It's the story of Blackthorn Lighthouse, perched on the jagged cliffs of Blackthorn Bay, where the waves gnaw relentlessly at the rocks, as if they're trying to swallow the land whole. The lighthouse was built in the early 1800s, a solitary sentinel against the unforgiving sea. Its beacon cut through the stormy nights, guiding ships safely to harbor. But Blackthorn was no ordinary lighthouse. Something about it, perhaps the way the light seemed almost alive as it swept across the water, or the unsettling silence that engulfed it when the sea was calm, made sailors whisper of curses and shadows. Our story begins with Jacob Renfield, the last keeper of Blackthorn Lighthouse. Renfield was a stoic man, accustomed to the solitude of his work. He'd been there for 15 years, tending the light, braving storms, and keeping meticulous logs of every ship that passed. But one winter, something changed. The villagers in Blackthorn Bay noticed it first. Renfield, once a reliable presence at the weekly supply drop, stopped appearing altogether. When a local fisherman braved the climb to the lighthouse, he found it locked tight. No sign of Renfield. But the light, oh, the light. It kept shining, unwavering, as if guided by an unseen hand. Weeks turned to months, and still, no one saw Renfield. The townsfolk debated what to do. Some said he'd gone mad and thrown himself into the sea. Others claimed he'd been taken by what no one dared to say aloud. Eventually, the authorities sent a replacement keeper, a young man named Thomas Grady. But Grady's tenure would be short-lived. The first night Grady spent at Blackthorn, he wrote in his journal about an unsettling feeling, as if he were being watched. The wind howled louder than usual, he said, and the light, the beacon he was tasked with maintaining, seemed to have a mind of its own. He described how, as he climbed the spiral staircase to the lantern room, he heard footsteps behind him. Slow, deliberate, and echoing in the cold, empty space. Yet, when he turned around, there was nothing there. Just shadows dancing in the flicker of his lantern. The second night, Grady wrote about voices. They weren't clear, more like whispers carried on the wind, but they filled the lighthouse. He swore he heard his name over and over, drifting up from the dark stairwell. Grady. Grady. He tried to dismiss it as his mind playing tricks, but his unease grew. On the third night, his journal ended abruptly. The final entry read, "The door to the lantern room slammed shut behind me. The light won't stop turning, even though I've extinguished it. I can feel them now. They're here. They've always been here. God help me." When the villagers climbed the lighthouse the next morning, Grady was gone. Like Renfield, he'd vanished without a trace. The only thing left was his journal, lying open on the desk in the keeper's quarters. The lighthouse was abandoned after that. The villagers boarded it up, hoping to trap whatever malevolent force resided within. But the light, it never stopped shining. Decades passed, and still, the beacon turned, sweeping its eerie glow across the bay. And then, 5 years ago, a group of paranormal investigators decided to document the lighthouse. They were skeptics, armed with cameras, recorders, and all manner of high-tech gadgets. They broke the boards sealing the door and stepped into the darkness of Blackthorn Lighthouse. What they captured has become the stuff of legend. One camera, mounted in the lantern room, recorded the light turning on by itself. No hand touched the controls, yet the mechanism engaged, and the room filled with that cold, otherworldly glow. Another recorder, left in the keeper's quarters, picked up hours of silence until the whispers began. They weren't faint this time. They were loud, insistent, and unmistakable. Leave, leave, leave. The most chilling piece of evidence came from the spiral staircase. A thermal camera captured the unmistakable outline of a figure, tall and gaunt, descending the stairs. But the figure, it wasn't walking. It floated, its form distorted and flickering like a flame in the wind. The investigators fled that night, leaving their equipment behind. They've never returned, and Blackthorn Lighthouse remains abandoned, its light still shining, a beacon for the lost and the damned. A year after the investigators fled, a local historian named Eleanor Gray became obsessed with the lighthouse's mysteries. She believed the answers lay in the logs left behind by Jacob Renfield. Braving the ominous cliffs and weathered stairs, Eleanor entered the lighthouse alone, armed only with a flashlight and a tape recorder. Eleanor's tape, found months later near the cliffs, revealed more horrors. As she ascended the staircase, she described a sudden, oppressive chill. "The air is heavy," she whispered. "It's like something is pressing down on me." Moments later, the sound of footsteps, not hers, echoed through the recorder. They were accompanied by a low, guttural growl unlike any animal native to the area. In the lantern room, Eleanor found Renfield's logs, but they were nearly illegible. Pages were smeared with what looked like salt water, and many entries had been violently scratched out. One fragment, however, remained clear. "The light is not ours. It belongs to them. We are but its keepers, and it demands a price." Eleanor's final moments on the tape are haunting. She began to plead, her voice shaking. I didn't mean to disturb you. Please, I just want to understand." Then came a deafening crash, as if the entire lantern room had shattered. The tape went silent, except for the sound of the sea. Her body was never found. Some say the lighthouse is a gateway, a place where the veil between worlds is thin. Others believe it's cursed, its light a lure for the unwary. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: those who enter rarely return, and those who do are never the same. They say if you stand on the cliffs of Blackthorn Bay on a stormy night, you can hear the whispers. And if you're brave enough to look up at the lighthouse, you might see a figure in the lantern room, staring out at the sea. Some say it's Jacob Renfield. Others believe it's something far older, far darker, a presence that has claimed the lighthouse as its own. So, my friends, if you ever find yourself near Blackthorn Bay, heed this warning. Stay away from the lighthouse. For once you step inside, the light will claim you, as it has claimed so many before. And you will become just another whisper in the darkness, another shadow on the stairs. I hope that you enjoyed that short tale. Please subscribe to the channel and join us next time for more strange happenings.